Sierra Cook on behalf of the people.
Okay. Great, counsel.
Yes, that's a yes. John on behalf of Mr. Spencer.
Mr. Spencer, you can come up to the podium here, please. We'll go on the record in People versus Cameron Spencer. Any argument?
Just briefly, Your Honor. My client has admitted to being the cause of the fire. That is given. What is not given is the origin of the fire. Some statements made that he didn't have a lighter. There were statements made that he did have a lighter. There were statements made to a detective that the fire started by virtue of dryer lint being stuffed into a lint exhaust pipe, which was also seized as evidence, but nothing was returned of that. There was also mention of a burning stove as a possible origin of the fire. And lastly, and most importantly, as far as an incendiary device goes, because that's the basis for these two variables, I believe MSP had a trooper come out with a canine to do a sniff for ignitable substances, and that resulted with 0 results. It's not been 100% confirmed that incendiary device was used as the cause of the fire. So as such, those variables should not be scored.
All right, thank you. Ms. Koch, any response to that?
Your Honor, they couldn't find what happened because the house was a total loss. This is different than the case I cited because it's significantly worse in terms of the damage that was done to the home. But he actually said what he did. He said he found a cloth and he lit it on fire. That's in the facts that were, and I used the facts specifically from the PSI for that reason. I used the wording there. And I think that's sufficient. I mean, the case I cited specifically is to OV2, which I think is even a stronger argument. But even with OV1, he said he started the fire, he did it on purpose, and he explained how he did it. So I think that has to be scored in the arson case. He didn't start this on accident. So I'd ask the court to score both of those. Thank you.
The court finds that the defendant would be unlikely to make those kind of admissions, which would be so damaging to his own interests unless those were true. So, sir, can you tell me your name, please?
Don Rollinsbury.
Okay, thank you. What would you like to say today?
Well, I don't know really. He burned my house to the ground. I lived there for 45 years. I lost everything. My wife passed away about 6 years ago and she loved that house. I had all her pictures and all her things. 3 months after my wife died, my daughter died. I lost all her stuff that she gave me. It's just, I'm not happy. And I did nothing wrong in my house. And I can't understand why anybody would come in and burn somebody's house down when they're in there sleeping. And I just barely got out of there with my life. So I want him to get as much time as he can get. Because I don't want the fear of him coming around or anybody else, because I've had an awful lot of dreams. Every night I have trouble going to sleep over it. And I don't even know this guy. It's the first time I ever laid eyes on him. Hope I never see him again. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Anything you would like to say on behalf of people for allocation?
One of the things the court probably noticed is that there's no request for restitution.
Hold on. Sir, we're in the middle of a court proceeding here. What is it you need?
I was just telling that we're the grandparents. I didn't know if we could speak or not.
Ms. Koch has not indicated that. But
I'm sorry to interrupt, Your Honor.
all right, okay, thank you. Ms. Koch.
Your Honor, we didn't ask for a restitution request, and I actually expected us to be requesting, $100,000 or $200,000. Everything so far has been covered by insurance, and some insurance companies are very good about getting us information. This insurance company has not responded to our request. They're still working on closing out the personal items that were lost, because as you heard from the victim who owned the home, he had 45 years worth of stuff there. I can't even imagine the number of things that he can't remember he had there. Everything from his family was in this home. So they haven't even got to that point. I think they've been living without water in a camper. Their life is destroyed because what Cameron felt emotional and wanted to do this on a bad day. When I read his character letters, I thought, am I even reading about the same kid? Is this even the same person? Because how does a person go from the person in the character letters to somebody who has destroyed this entire family's life? And, the emotional toll that this has taken on them. My victim advocate has been working with them repeatedly, trying to figure out a way. They're going to get they had to pay off their mortgage and then try to get a house, what was left on their mortgage. And it's a nightmare for them. They're not going to have the same quality home as they had before because there's no way for them to do it. They're not going to have a basement like they used to have. They're going to have a single wide trailer put on their property because that's the best way for their family to handle it. And frankly, I don't know how Mr. Spencer would help anyway. He's going to be in prison. I don't think the recommendation in this case by MDOC even starts to touch on the lifelong impact that this arson had on this family. I would ask for a sentence in the higher end of the guidelines. And I understand that Mr. Spencer's young. I understand that he has no criminal history at all. I don't even know how this ever crossed his mind to do it. It's horrible. And nothing I say today is going to change what happened to this family. And nothing this court does is going to undo the impact. But I think punishment should be the prime focus here. Thank you.
It is well settled that a proper criminal sentence should be tailored to the circumstances of a particular case and to the particular characteristics of the defendant, ensuring objectives of sentencing are accomplished. Mr. Spencer is very young. He has his entire life ahead of him. He is extremely remorseful. He's embarrassed that this decision led him here. He was a captain of a football team in high school. He graduated with great grades. He was employed at the time. He had a desire to go into the armed services. And then he made this fateful decision. It was a momentary lapse and otherwise sound judgment. He has zero criminal history. He doesn't even know what it's like to break the law outside of the instant offense. Granted, this is a major offense, and thank God nobody was hurt or killed in this. But he otherwise has a clean record, and this is something that is never going to happen again. He's never going to put himself in a situation again, or even have these thoughts of doing something similar. He has a low level of recidivism given his lack of criminal history. Again, this is a momentary lapse in judgment that unfortunately destroyed the lives of the victims here by virtue of losing their property. And he's extremely remorseful. And I would ask that, Your Honor, that you would impose a incarceration term of 2 to 4 years to allow him to get back on track and show this court that this is otherwise a hiccup in his timeline of life. He's going to go on to great and better things after he's done serving his time here, which may also include the armed services. I'm not sure. All I know is that he has expressed to me his remorse, apologies, and he wishes the best for the family. Nothing else, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. Anything you wanted to say?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd just like to solidify what my attorney has said. Your Honor, I am extremely embarrassed to have to ever appear in front of you. I never plan, of course, nobody plans for much, but I never plan to ever commit any crimes or to be in front of you ever again. I feel horrible for the victims of the charges brought against me. I love and respect the victims. I think at this point, there's no doubt that I am the one that started the fire. And it was a mere mistake that I have made because of a long-term relationship of which I just loved somebody so dearly that I couldn't stand to lose them. And I never intended to harm them, but that is beyond my control at this point. I'm very glad that they're safe, no matter what they feel with me. I miss my family a lot. I've learned a lot and met a lot of strange and hurt people in this county. That's all I have, Your Honor.
I think, outside of a death, of a murder, an arson where your home is completely destroyed has to be the next worst thing that could happen to somebody. And I'm sure it's difficult to talk about, and I'm sure the statements that you gave today don't scratch the surface in terms of the effect it's had on your lives and the lives of the other people involved. And you are a young man, you're 19 years old, and people do things without fully appreciating the full consequences of their actions when you're that age. Your mindset is a little bit different, you're looking a little more short term, and I can accept that. But even in light of that, there are some mistakes that carry with them greater consequences than others and simply can't be excused. And this is certainly, you set up a set of circumstances here where someone in that home certainly could have been killed or seriously injured during that fire.
I agree, Your Honor, and I just,
It's my turn now, okay?
I apologize.
So that's number one. You created a circumstance, put some circumstances in motion where people could have been killed or seriously injured, and that deserves serious consideration by the court, because to me that's more than just a youthful discretion. That's a complete disregard for the lethal potential of your actions. And that's to say nothing of the actual loss that was incurred, which I said, I think next to someone dying, this has got to be the second worst thing that happens, because although you're not losing someone's life, you're losing all those memories of people who are gone, memories of people who are still here that you can never get back. Those things are erased permanently. I think based on your actions, based on the danger that you created, based on the immediate and long-lasting and really forever effects on the victims in this case, the court needs to impose the most serious punishment that it can impose. So therefore, the court finds that as to the second-degree arson charge, that you should serve a sentence in the Michigan Department of Corrections of 95 months to 20 years. You have credit for 228 days served. And that charge, you will be required to pay restitution in an amount to be determined. You will be required to pay a crime victims assessment of $130, court costs of $325, a DNA testing fee of $60, and a $68 state cost. As to the home invasion charge, the court is going to order 71 months to 15 years. And you have credit for 228 days served, $68 state cost as to that charge. On the malicious destruction of property charge, the court orders that you serve 1 year in the Crawford County Jail with credit for 228 days served. Restitution to be in an amount to be determined as to that charge, $50 state cost. All of those sentences can be served concurrent to each other. You do have the ability to seek an appeal of this sentence. Mr. Spencer, you are admitted to the custody of the state at this time.
Your Honor, may I hug my grandparents?
No, we're going to have to go right with the officer.
I understand.